using Seesaw probably for the past 3 years, but it wasn't until all this that we really had to really get into it even more so. And in the past couple of months, we've been actually creating more things that are a little more not necessarily a little user friendly, but also more like interactive with students. Since we're not there to, guide them and say, yes, take a look at this or don't forget that all the time. Using all the little tools in Seesaw to be able to do that has been really useful. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the present. And I'm going to start with. Okay, so do you guys see my, where it says my library? Oh, well, not yet, probably yet.
No, it's there.
It's just spinning. All right. Okay. So I was going to go through a couple of activities just to see, show you the different things that you might be able to do with it, just to enhance a little bit more of the activities that you're doing. This is one that was a phonics one, and it was talking more about like the letter H and sounds that it makes. And so I'm going to go into it as if I was going to edit it, just that I can go in there. And oops, not that. All right, here we go. So obviously, other than, you can always put your instructions in and your voice. We have a lot of students who are not, we teach second grade, and we have a lot of students who are not necessarily reading. So we always record our voices, giving them the instructions. Later on, we'll talk about this media where you could enhance your instructions in there as well. I'm going to go into my templates. And we try to use, I try to use a lot of clip art, emojis, things that are going to point out to the kids what they need to do. Here you can see I put, listen to the instructions. If you were to give instructions, you can click on here. You can record yourself reading whatever's on your screen or any questions that you might have that you want the kids to answer. Once again, for those students who may not be able to read it out themselves. Okay, so then here's another big emoji clip art that we like to use, just pointing to that record button to make sure we always ask our kids to record themselves, either reading their text or in this case, it was the words that were on here. One thing that, here's what I wanted to show in this activity was that we create things where it becomes a little more interactive for the kids. They have to move things to where they belong. And how you do that. So Google Slides will become one of your best friends once you start creating things. I created my raindrops. I put type on here on Google Slides. I typed out the word on it. And then the other tools that I'm using is doing the screenshot. So once I take a little screenshot of whatever images that I want to do, then I can go ahead and take a picture of that. And then I will have item that can put onto my activity. The one other step that you need to do is that right now this item has a white screen behind it, and you probably don't want that. So I'm going to get rid of that. Your other best friend for this kind of activity is going to be remove BG. I use that all the time when I'm creating little items that we want to move around. So then you can just pick whatever it is that you have on there and then upload it, and then basically it just removes the background, and now you have an isolated image. Here it is. Okay, so it'll download onto your desktop, and then you can use it once you get back into your activity in Seesaw. So those are tools that we're using to create these kind of items where the kids have to move things around. And we've used it in math, we've used it in literacy. It's just of you start to think about where can I use these things. And I think later on, actually, I'll show you how I use one in math for measuring. So that's one way to enhance your designs and your lessons. Another thing on this particular lesson that we did use, and one thing that made it a little more fun for us and the kids, was using like a flashlight. Now for this activity, the kids have the list of the words that they're using, and they're taking their flashlight and then they're trying to find which is the correct spelling. And that's why I have like the little boxes right here for them to them mark off which is the correct one. And for this activity, it's all about layering. So I'm going to show you, I'm just going to create another page for a second here. So basically all it is I'm adding in a shape, and you can use whatever color you want. I just find that black is with the color because it's easy to hide things in. If I'm going to add a text, I will add text. Your text has to be the same color, obviously, so that it can hide in there. And then also you have to maybe change the style of it, take away that box, so now that you don't have that box anymore. So once I have that here, I'm going to try it with the blue. But like I said, it's just tricky trying to find the exact blue that you're gonna have so that you don't see it anymore. There you go. All right, I'm going to, since I already have my flashlight here, I'm just going to copy it and put it on this page. This is just a clip art that I found. There's obviously you can just use your yellow dot as well. I just happen to like the flashlight. Now, right now, you don't see the word because you have to bring that word up to the front. And like I said, it's just a matter of layering. So when you go into your little three dots, you can order your words, you can bring it to the front. And now when I bring my light, you can see it. So it's just a fun thing. I know I've used it here in words. Emily has used it as well in her phonics, as in her words. I don't think I've used it in math yet, but you can easily do that as well in any activity that you might be looking to do something a little fun. So let's go back. So in this lesson, basically, I think the things I wanted to showcase was the movable items, that little light, flashlight, making sure that you're using full use of all your ways that you can get your message out to kids, whether it's here in the little quotation marks on there and giving them further instructions, using all the different kinds of, clip art or emojis that you can use just to make sure that your kids are not missing the things that you want to get done. So I'm going to take just a second if anybody has any questions on any of those things that were going on in that lesson.
I've been answering a lot of them, Ellie.
Oh, okay, perfect. That's why we're a team. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this page just so that I don't forget that it's there. And save that one. All right. So just one other one that I was going to show as far as like a movable thing, which I thought the other day when we were, one of the standards was the math and measuring. And we were like, how am I going to get kids, not everybody has rulers at home, or not everybody has measuring tapes or whatever it is that they need to get their measuring done. So I did an activity where they were actually able to move a ruler. And actually in this lesson too, I was going to showcase a little bit of the another way to get into giving your instruction, kind of like a mini lesson. There we go. All right. So here you can see there's a play symbol. I included one of the pages as a quick mini lesson, and it's actually in the template. And the reason I say that is because later on, Emily's going to talk about how to give mini lessons and add them to your media section. This one only because I had like a 13, 14 page Google slide, and so I just decided to put the mini lesson on that first page. So here we go. All right, so here is my my first page is my mini lesson. This was just created by hitting that record button, the microphone button, and it'll record everything that I say or do on the screen. And I'm just going to play really quick, a little bit of it just so that you can see where I was talking about. So you have a little cursor that you can use to point out, what you want your kids to see. So that's one thing that's there for you. And then I'm going to stop it there because I'm going to just go here a little further. And then this ruler that I had on the bottom was actually a movable ruler. And so I was modeling how I'm using my head, and then I'm going to move the ruler to actually measure this little piece of paper that's there. And I think that one all right. So you can always use your templates. You can use that first page or any page for that matter, and just record whatever things you want on there, and it becomes like a little quick place for you to make a little mini lesson for your students. And I'm just going to scroll to the page, one of the pages. So this was one of the pages where the kids actually get to, and I put here, move the ruler to measure. I actually recorded myself, reading what it says right here in case they weren't sure. And then they could take the ruler, and then they could actually measure. And so that was one of the cool features that you can get to do once you start playing around with how do I get to move and create, and just thinking a little bit out of the box. How can I get kids to have manipulatives that normally they would have in the classroom? How can I get them to use it here on screen as well? So I'm going to get out of here because that was really the only thing I wanted to show on that one. All right. So I know Emily has been answering questions probably.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing for a second so that because I'm going to go ahead and let Emily go further into now as far as like using the videos, using the links, as far as being able to give further instruction and mini lessons to your students.
Okay, so I'm going to start presenting. Hopefully this works for me. Okay, so do you see a Google slide right now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So one thing that I've been doing a lot in Seesaw, if I have links of different places I want the kids to go to, is I make a choice board. And basically first you make this in Google Slides. So this was a choice board I made when I wanted them to pick 2 different animal habitats from Pebble Go. And this was over a course of 3 days. So one day they picked one habitat, they read, and then there was a graphic organizer in the student template section. And then day 2, they picked a different one. Day 3, they had to do a compare and contrast. So basically what I did is I took a screenshot of each of these books from Pebble Go, and then I made them into links. So when they click on it, they would go directly to the book that they chose, and then up here, in case they weren't logging in right away to Pebble Go, I put the the username and password. Some other ways that I've used this, it doesn't have to be all to the same thing. So this was a STEM challenge that I created. It was over 3 days, and they had to click on my Bitmoji. I've been trying to use that a lot more just so it's like I'm there. So clicking on this Bitmoji would take me to the YouTube video that I created modeling this challenge. They had to find whatever they could around the house to make a tower, and each day the time changed. So clicking on this link, it showed them how to build the tower, and then I showed them how to measure it using their finger, their hand, or their arm. And then clicking on this one took them to a timer on YouTube. So day 1, they had 3 minutes. Day 2, they had 2 minutes. Day 1, they had 1 minute. So you can put in links to many different places using, just text or using graphics. This was another one I made. It was for this week for dinosaurs for science. They had to watch a video. So I took a screenshot of the video and put it on a TV. And so it's like they're watching the video on an actual TV, and clicking on this would take them to the mystery science that they were supposed to watch. And again, I used my Bitmoji there as a little science researcher. And then this is another one I did for science. This is actually today's lesson. So this link is going to take them to a video that they have to watch. And again, here's that pointer icon that Ellie was talking about. And then I wanted them to stop at the worksheet. So I made a little stop sign showing, okay, stop here, and then to go to Seesaw. And then I actually took the worksheet and made it into the student template on Seesaw. Now, when you are doing uploading a choice board, there's really important steps you have to do, otherwise it's not going to work and the links are not going to be clickable. So this is what I wanted to show you. So once you're done with your choice board and you have everything that you want on there, you need to go to File and Publish to Web, right down here, Publish to Web. And then just go ahead and click Publish. Yes, it's okay to publish. And then you're going to copy this link. And then when you go into Seesaw, this is the part that's important. You're going to upload it here into that multimedia instructions page. And you're going to put it in as a link. So I'm going to paste that link, hit the green check mark. And this is the part that is important. Do not add go to add file. That's going to add the Google slide from your drive, and the kids are going to have permission to access it, and the links are not going to work. You have to click continue. And then it should load. Of course, it's going to be slow right now. It'll load onto here. So it'll load onto that multimedia part. And now all of the links are clickable for your students. You could record yourself here reading what you want them to do, or type the caption, it doesn't matter. And then just click the green check mark, and it will be down here in the multimedia. So in the instructions, I usually would put a little finger emoji pointing over to the link and say, click link to watch the video and to click on where I want them to go. And then I would have a template down here for them to do after they click on the link. So this is a great way where if you want kids to go to different links for a lesson or over a course of a day, you could just copy the assignment and reuse that choice board, and they could click on different links or just wherever you want to send them for your activity. So you can load multiple slides. You can load multiple slides, and then that's where that time setting comes in, where like you could say to every 3 seconds, it'll go to the next slide, or you can make it clickable.
I think, I don't know if she was referring to the multimedia or the template. The template, you could do multiple slides. On the multimedia is usually like one thing that you're linking everything to.
Yes, but I think you can also, I haven't tried to do multiple slides in the multimedia, but when you go to publish it, it does ask if you want to rotate every 3 seconds. So I think you can, and it'll do multiple slides. I'd have to play with it. I haven't tried that yet.
Usually, I think we've contained it to one slide. Even when you had your science one and you had 6 different links, it was one slide, and they were shooting off a bunch of different links, like that one right there.
Yeah. So this one I have 6 different links on there. And then like the building challenge, I had 2 different links on there. So that is doing a choice board. You just have to make sure to follow those steps and to put it on the right way. Otherwise the links are not going to work. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna show you another way to do an interactive lesson. We discovered this one right before we discovered the flashlight one. So we've been kind of going back and forth. This lesson is kind of making us a scratch card where they have to scratch to find what you want them to do. So you start here in Google Slides, and this one is an example of a lesson I did for sentence building. So I used the shapes to make these shapes, and I made the lines thick, and you're going to see why in a second. And then I put words in each shape, and then they were going to use this to create a sentence. So for example, if they scratched off can I have, they have to finish the sentence for me. Or if they scratched off will you see, they have to finish that sentence for me. And you're going to see what I mean by scratch off in a second, but you have to start it in Google Slide first. So I made all my slides. Each one has different words in the shapes as sentence starters. And then what you're going to do is you can go to Seesaw, create activity, and then this is going to go in the student template part. And I'm going to upload from my drive. And the nice thing about Seesaw is when you upload something that has more than one slide, it automatically puts each slide on a different page.
Which has actually also been nice if you download texts that have multiple pages, it could all upload. Maximum is 20 pages. It does give us a chance to like upload everything that you might have.
So now I have each slide that I made on a different page on Seesaw, and now is the part where I'm going to color it in, and so when the students do it, they get to scratch it off. Now, sometimes these tools kind of get annoying and they get in the way. I discovered that once you've chosen what you want, this button up here hides it. And then you can see the whole thing, and the students have that ability as well. I usually type in my instructions to click that button so they can see the full screen. And Ellie and I will share a document where it has all the shortcuts. So when you're typing your directions, you can do, like click the pencil or click the pen, but it actually shows the picture of the image that the students see in the directions for those non-readers, but it's also just a nice visual cue. So here's my document here that I put in, and I did white here just because it's the easiest to color match. So I'm going to put this onto white, and I'm going to color in the entire area. Let me make this bigger so this goes a little faster. I'm going to color in the entire area. So this is what the students would see when they pull up the student template. They would see it all, completely colored in. And then in my directions, which I would record as a caption, like Ellie pointed out, but I would also put the directions in the directions for the activity. I would tell them that when they come here, what they would see is this, and they need to click on the eraser. And then when they click on the eraser, I told them to choose one of each shape. So they have to do one of the hexagon, one of this shape, and one of this shape. And then when they erase, it's like a scratch off card, and they can actually see what I put. And if they chose these three, then their sentence would be, can I see? And then over here, they would make a text box, and then they would type it on to the piece of paper and complete the sentence and add details. So you would do that for every single one of the slides. And then it's just another way for the students to be more interactive with the lessons because they're actually having to manipulate it. This could be used easily for math facts. It could be used for sight word practice. There's so many ways that you could do this. It's just making sure to remember this was assigned to grade 2. We teach dual language. So we have some limited English speakers. So these sentences were kind of simple, but I asked my higher kids to add more details and to expand on their sentences and not just do the one sentence that I gave them. But yeah, this can easily be lent to any other type of lesson that you would want to do. It's just important to start it in Google Slides first, because if you make all these shapes in Seesaw, Ellie and I have discovered that the kids either purposefully or accidentally delete some of our shapes
Delete
or
things, yeah.
change the shape of them or move them, and then the assignment kind of loses its meaning. So when you make it in Google Slides first, it makes all of that permanent and they can't touch or move or do anything.
Yeah, and I did a similar one with place value where I had base 10 blocks and they were just hidden and they just had to erase and find the different base 10 blocks and then write down the amount that they had. And then, like I said, you can get, like Emily said, you can get creative, whether you use it in math or literacy. There's so many things that you can do with it.
There was a question about the wooden desk. We both have a whole file of clip arts that we use pretty regularly in all of our Seesaw lessons as backgrounds. And I've been trying to make all my lessons look as realistic as possible so they feel like they're back in school. So I found this desk one that I really liked that, again, I just Googled kid desk clip art, and this came up and I took a screenshot of it, and then I put in the pencil and I put in the erasers as separate clip arts, and then I used that remove background website that Ellie showed you to take the background away from the pencil and the eraser, just to make it more realistic for them, to make them feel like
and then we were just going to say, it becomes addictive because you start finding things that you like. We have like a whole file of different notebooks and, pens and highlighters and all these different images that, we just will throw into our lessons just because, like you said, it has to be more than just a paper, like a pen and paper. You're not doing paper on a computer. You want to have them like look at it and be like, oh, like this is fun, or I can do this, or, making it just user friendly for them, appealing to them and to yourself. Like I said, it just becomes addictive. You just start like finding things that looks good, and you're like, oh, like, we haven't tried this book's format yet, or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. And so, and I don't know, we've been seeing a little bit of decline in engagement. So we're just trying to keep the lessons as interactive as possible so the kids are interested and it's accessible. And again, like Ellie said, using those captions and using all of the clip art with the finger pointing. And sometimes I'll put like number 1 to click here first and number 2 to click here second. So they know the order of where they need to click as well. I just saw a question, but it went away. It was something about engagement, I think, but it went off.
Yeah, is your participation rate better? Yeah, I mean, we're getting students, completing things. I mean, not that they weren't, but I just think they see it, they're like, oh, let's try this, and we'll change it up. Maybe we're using the flashlight in a certain format in one way, and then we'll change the background, or we'll change, how they're using the flashlight. We did a lesson where they were, it was like, there looked like a midnight scene. There was little animals hidden inside, and they had to use a flashlight to find the animals, and then write about, they had to write up on the animals, the favorite animal.
And you don't even, and then you don't have to do like individual shapes for the flashlight. I've done it where I make like half of the Seesaw screen one color, and I put the words in there, so they're not just going to the shape, because obviously they know the word is in the shape, but they actually have to hunt on the entire entire half of the page to find the words I'm looking for. So it makes it a little bit more difficult for them as well. Did you share that picture, Ellie, with the...
I was trying to, but it kept kicking me out. I did it twice, and twice I was kicked out when I was trying to put the image on there. Maybe you could try it.
Okay, let me see if I can do it.
So we wanted to share just so there's like little shortcut, a cheat sheet for when you want to give instructions, for like when you want to show how to use a pencil, or to use a highlighter, or to use the text box, whatever it is. Seesaw has like little shortcuts that you would type into your instructions that those images come up. And like I said, we also use just the clip art emojis, as well sometimes when we want to put in instructions.
All right, let me see if I can get it to work.
But yeah, I think those are the things that we wanted to highlight. But if there's anything like that you ever, any questions or any tips or whatever they might want, both Emily and I are Seesaw ambassadors, like Alicia mentioned. So just email us or, drop us a hangout, and we're easily help you out.
And I just want to mention too that since we now have Seesaw Premium, we have the school and district library, which means that these guys are just saying that all their activities that they create, they put in our school and district library. So that means that you all, if you go into Seesaw and you go to activities and you go to look in the district and school library, you'll see all of the ones that they've created. And then you can even use them exactly as is, or you can actually make a copy and edit for, tweak it for your own purposes. So, oh, Emily,
your mic is off, Emily.
Sorry, it kicked me out when I tried to do the picture as well, so I had to rejoin.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can copy, edit it, and then you can add your own voice or make any changes that you want and just make it yours.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you guys so much for doing this. This has been fantastic. I've learned a whole bunch of stuff, so I appreciate it. And it's recorded, and it will be posted on our YouTube channel in a little while. So thank you. Repeat performance.
You're welcome.
My kids stayed in the toy room, so we're all good.
Perfect. Yeah, that remove background, that's really cool. I'd never heard of that, because that's one of the most frustrating things is when you find something great, but it's got a background on it.
Yeah, it's bookmarked.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you just have to sometimes you just have to play around with the colors that are in your background, because maybe if they have a similar color in your image, it might erase some of that color in your image. But it just becomes like I said, you just play around with it, you figure it out.
Yeah, I was trying to do a soccer net, and it like took away the soccer net. So you have to be careful of like the thickness of the lines and everything on the picture.
Got it. Also, the flow
right.
of getting like the links, the Google Slide live links, and how you do that, because I know that's something that people have struggled with, is how do you, what's the right thing to do, and it's not intuitive, right? So I appreciate that you
No,
guys
it like
showed
goes
it.
against what you think you should do
Right.
because it tells you to edit the file in blue, so you should. And you're like, nope, that's not what you should do.
Yes, so that's great to have that recorded.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll stop recording.